just want to make sure. Okay, everyone can hear from this mic well? Raise your hand if you cannot hear. You cannot hear, okay. This will be the board's mic, right? I know, sorry. That wasn't nice. That wasn't intentional either. Okay, and it looks like everyone's going to be seated. We'll wait for our last board member to arrive at the table, and we'll get started. It's all good. We need a chair. Okay. Careful, careful. She's got it. She's got it. And Jan, come on over. Okay. Okay, thank you everyone for being here. We are going to officially call this annual meeting for 2025 of Unity of South Sound to order. Thank you for that, Megan. The bell, I love it. Oh, the Ladonna school bell. Yes, okay. Yeah, from way back, okay. My name is Krista Sarga. I am the board vice president and your acting president currently. And first and foremost, I just want to thank all of you for being here. Whether you're here with us in the sanctuary or watching on Facebook or YouTube, thank you for being here. And we appreciate you and we appreciate your presence for this very important annual meeting. What I'd like to do first is introduce our current Board of Trustees, your current Board of Trustees, and what I will let you know is that this board stands in service not only to the ministry but to each and every one of you. And these individuals have answered a calling to truly guide this ministry, the health of this ministry, to continue its sustainability and for it to endure into the future. And something that I found recently, which I really loved, the idea of sustainability continuing on. And the United Nations defines sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And I think that says a lot about what we do as a board to help sustain this ministry for all of us. So I have introduced myself, and it is my great pleasure to introduce the rest of your Unity of South Sound board. And I will start to my right. We have Jan Jennis is our board alternate trustee. Next to her, we have Steve Ryan, who is our board treasurer extraordinaire. Steve does a lot of work with all of the financial health and reporting for the ministry. We have Reverend Megan Smith Brooks, who is part of our board as well and our spiritual leader. And then on my left, I have Candace Robeck. She is our board secretary. LaDonna Peterson is our board trustee, and Sue Clemens as well as board trustees. So we all sit in service to each of you. And round of applause for this group. And now I'm going to hand it over to Reverend Megan for an opening prayer.
So I just invite us all to breathe into this moment, to reground ourselves from the service that we have moved from, and to remind us that from our opening statement, we affirmed the truth. There is only one presence and one power active in my life, in the universe, and in Unity of South Sound. God, goodness, omnipotence. And I am one with that presence and power. Know that with me. I am one with that presence and power. And now let's affirm it as We are one with that presence and power. We are one with that presence and power. And collectively, as we open to the possibilities of life that are inherently contained with the divinity that we are, we have the courage to say yes and move forward in a beautiful and magnificent ways. And we call together the power of our spiritual community in this moment. Do you answer the call? If you do, say yes. Yes. And so it is. Amen.
Okay, now I get to decide if there is a quorum. So let me get down here. For all of you that are members, if you would hold your hand up, and let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I think I got you. 23, 24. Thank you. We have 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. We have a quorum.
That's always good.
And now I'm going to pass to Candace for approval of last year's minutes.
So good to see everybody here. Thank you for making time for this important task. The minutes are included, the minutes from the 2024 annual meeting are included in the annual meeting booklet. Do we give them time to look at it now, or? All right. And I noticed it wasn't moved and seconded last year. Do we want to do that?
Ask Sue if we're supposed to. I didn't think we had to for.
It wasn't moved and seconded last year, but I feel comfortable if we did that.
We can move in as published, yeah.
Okay. I would
I'll move that we approve the minutes as published.
And that was seconded by?
David.
Thank you.
We've got a question.
Yeah.
We need to have somebody take the mic. We need to have, do we only have one mic? Oh no, here's the mic. Oh, you do? Okay. I was gonna go grab that other one.
I don't see it on page 2.
What area was she concerned about?
Okay, so on page,
References.
on
Okay.
page 2 in the minister's report, I see a reference to 2023, and that is correct. Megan was referring to the accomplishments for the previous year. Are there any other references? You said on
Okay,
page
so
3.
there's the chaplain report. Julie Webb gave a report.
I
that-
see some references on page 3 and that in the financial report, and that was where Steve was reporting on the financial
Okay.
picture for the previous year. So
Okay.
I think we're good on those, unless I missed some.
Check, check, check.
Can you,
24 is the future from these, and 23 was the past.
yeah,
Where's the pamphlet that,
so the, where it says see pamphlet, so that was referring to the booklet. And we got these minutes last year, we just left them as is, but what that's referring to is the booklet. So
All
this
the
means the
reports.
2024 version of this document. I didn't hear. Was there a question? No, I was just thank you for that. Oh, yeah. Happy to do that. All right, we've had a motion and a move by Sue to approve the minutes as published, seconded by David Sandal Hill. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstains? Thank you.
Motion carried. All right, so now over to Megan.
I have a mic. So I just want to take a moment to introduce our staff, all of those that make a difference behind the scenes that you may or may not be aware of. First and foremost, our office administrator is Amy Silveria, also our sound tech in the back there, making all the connections happen. We have contracted a bookkeeper who is in the office on Thursdays, Beth Koenig, who is not present. Jennifer Richardson, our Director of Family and Ministry. You see her all the time making a difference. Our Master of the Keyboards, Music Director Cerny Sodarius. Did he leave or is he? There he is. And also somebody that works for us virtually, Mary Lindsay is our webmaster and marketing and communications manager. She lives in Tennessee, and she works with only New Thought Ministries, CSLs, and Unities, and she really knows her stuff, and so we're grateful to have her. She's the one that creates all the PowerPoint slides, the e-blast. She's redone our website. Anything that you see is publicly posted, our social media, all of those things. She is our master of keeping us having something that is fresh and vibrant and touches people. So we celebrate all our staff. Just let's give them all a wonderful applause. And I'm grateful to work with all these people too.
Okay, thank you, Reverend Megan. And I have just a quick correction, and that is because we, as a board, were less one board trustee. Actually, Jan Jenis is a board trustee and no longer our alternate. So I wanted to make sure we made that correction. My apologies. A recent change for us. And now we're going to hear from Jennifer Richardson from our youth ed. Come on down, Jennifer.
Speak to our future.
Speak to our future.
That's what the kids are, right?
Yes. Right here. So I'm on the camera.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I could give you a report about all the things we did in 2024, which I usually do, but you can read it in here because I gave it and it's written in here. So what I'd really like to do is talk about my team. So I am the youth ed director, but I have the most amazing team. And every single week, we show up and we hold the space for the youth in our community. We show up with lesson plans and excitement and energy and ready to create something special for them. Something that helps them learn and grow and find a spiritual path for themselves. So, and we hold the space for new children to show up, for families, for youth. Every week we hold this space for that. And I can tell we're about to grow because my team has grown. So people have been showing up and saying, hey, I want to come play with you guys, like adults. I want to come play with the youth ed team. So my youth ed team has grown, which means the kids are on their way, right? The kids are on their way. And we're so excited, and I'm so honored to work, to spend time with these adults who love to play like kids, who love to spend their time with our youth, who hold this space for them every week. I am so honored to spend that time with them. And if any of you would like to join our team, we're open. And also, I'm asking you hold this space for more youth as we hold that space too for young families, for children to show up, to be in our classrooms, to find their way on a spiritual path. So just like last year, we will do all the fun things this year. So we have camps coming up. We did lots of camps in 2024. We sent lots of children away to camps. We help pay for them, we fundraise, and we let them go play with other children in our region. So wonderful for them. And then just what we do here on Sundays. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you and the youth team for all that you do. Really heartfelt. Okay. And next, we have the honor of hearing from Diane Neiman around our volunteers in sacred service. Well,
I'm gonna take her.
let's
mic.
get you a mic. Diane, if it's easier for you.
I can take her that one. Oh, he has the mic. Okay.
There you go.
Oh, looky this. Does this work for you, Amy? Okay, good. I wasn't prepared. I didn't know that I was speaking. I thought we were going to read what I had to say.
I think it
But
can.
what am I doing again? What's my part?
She can pull it back.
You are speaking to the volunteers in sacred service.
Oh,
So
I'm
any
speaking-
highlights from 2024 this last year, and anyone new to the team, or any open opportunities? That's a big piece, right?
Refer to her report.
Okay, thanks.
You can
Oh my
you
gosh,
can
I'm so
refer
sorry,
to your
kids.
report. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing the Sacred Service Coordinator. That is what I am. There's been some fluctuation in that team, as you can see. And it's me at this point, and whoever else wants to help me out. Yeah, we could always use support, and we always love having it. And I'm pleased to see some new teams popping up. And my other role is as hospitality with Julie Webb and Sandy, who's sitting right below me here. And that we could always just more people to hang out with us, and it's wonderful to greet people in all sorts of ways. But as my husband says, many hands make light work. Isn't that the truth? So that is it for me as far as Sacred Service Coordinator. Let me see what it says here. Sorry. Oh yeah, that's boy oh boy. Yeah. Okay. Hey, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad all of you are here, and we will continue on together.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, and next we would like to hear from Julie Webb around the chaplain team. So Julie, do you have some words for us? There is a report also in the booklet. It's not necessary. It's not really happening right now. Okay. Julie, you can just step up to the podium if you like, and that mic is hot up there. Whatever's easiest for you.
Oh, there's a mic up there.
It's okay.
It's the Bluetooth one.
Oh, the one, you can always hold this one and, sing. You're good.
Well, basically, the chaplain group expanded last year, which we were really happy and pleased about, because we began the year with 3 chaplains and we added 2 during the year. So we began with Scott Davidson, Ginger Landry, and myself, and we added David Sandal Hill and Barbara Baumel. And what a blessing that is to share the prayers with you all and with one another. The other highlight of last year was David introducing us to a book called Discover Your Divinity, and we really resonated with that, and we studied it at our monthly chaplain meetings for a number of months in a row, and then it was recommended to Reverend Megan that we use that for the curriculum for our prayer class. And that was well received. We've just completed that prayer class, and we had from 10 to 13 people every week. But it's a very valuable book written by Linda Martella Whitsitt and Deanne Weir-Morency. And now we're preparing for our annual chaplain retreat at the end of March at the Priory Spirituality Center in Lacey. And at this point, it doesn't look like we'll have any new trainees going with us, but in case any of you took the class this year and did self-study and would like to join us and volunteer to be a chaplain, we would love to have you, as well as any of the new members that were just introduced to us today. That 3 new members, and one of the perks of being a member is to have their own personal chaplains. So we'll be following up on that to see if Renee or Amy or Emily would like to have a chaplain. And I think that covers it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Julie. All right, and now Reverend Megan has her minister's report.
I'm going to start with a video. It's just about 2 minutes. If Amy can hit that. And it's a reference to something I mentioned this morning from Unity Worldwide Ministries. You know when it starts because it has music. Yes. You're being invited to something, do you feel excited that you're part of a spiritual community and that we can step into the power of our spiritual community to really take a lead and express and demonstrate and to step out of fear? We are bombarded with all kinds of paths we can go down around us, but we have spiritual principle to come back to guide us, to lead us, to inspire us, and as a spiritual community, collectively, we can demonstrate it at a higher level. And so that's really where I'm at as a spiritual leader, of inviting you into that if we have the courage to step up our practice, then we can not only demonstrate for ourselves individually, but as a spiritual community to move forward in amazing ways. We know that there are people seeking the type of community that we have. Unity is based on a movement that is an alternative to traditional Christianity. We, just like Jesus taught that what he was teaching was an alternative to Judaism at the time. But in all of it, it's a way of living. It's a way of practicing from a spiritual place, honoring who we are, and then living from that to become all of our potential. And there's so much more for us to express. So the way when I look at the last year, 2024, was really a powerful time in taking on new opportunities for evaluation and transformation as we're setting a foundation for our future development of a ministry. And I know that many of you might wish we just had a magic wand and we can just bring everything we want, but it's a process, it's a journey. And even though we might not see the results that we want to see yet, we're seeing glimpses of it. We're seeing little aspects of our seeds that have been nurtured, and they're blooming, and they're taking hold, and they're becoming noticed. We want to continue with that this year. So last year, we really started a whole new process of transformation because our beloved administrator, previous minister, who had been here nearly 14 years, was also our bookkeeper. And she had this collective wisdom that not all of us had in our head, including history of this ministry. And so when Heidi decided to follow her path and to her prosperity in a new way, we had the opportunity to step into transforming our administrative center. And we realized that we would be better off splitting that into different employee paths. So we hired a contract bookkeeper to focus just on that. We looked at our marketing and media and the face to the public. That is a whole nother persona that requires a certain skill set, especially in technology, to do it effectively and to do it well. And we needed somebody that had that ability to do it well, that knew the current technologies, that can refer to us things where we can cut expenses, because as a nonprofit, there's some things we don't even have to pay for and we didn't know. We reduced the cost of our website the previous year. And so this has been a year of a lot of transformation behind the scenes to set into motion a foundation that's ready to grow and to expand and to support a greater spiritual community with more members. And there's a learning curve in that, and it takes time to get those, but the wheel has been spinning and it's happening. And so I'm really excited to see that, even though we're still in that midst of transformation, for us to be patient, but also willing to participate as we invite you into the experience. You know, when we look at this whole year, one of the things we implemented was Breeze, which is it's a church management system. It's a whole system, and it's a process of integrating and learning. And one of the things you're going to be watching for the next couple of weeks is we're going to be sending invitations to our members to create an account in our Breeze management system. And that account then will be what is then called our online membership directory. So each of you will be able to go in, you can download a picture, you can enter personal things, you can decide to hide what you want or not hide. There will be a tech team that helps support you with that if you have questions, but it really is just sort of, you fill out the form, it's a process. And then as you join teams or you take on other responsibilities, there's different areas of our ministry that you would be given access to that information. For instance, our newly forming event team, they all have to have accounts so they can have access to our online calendar, which is the behind the scenes calendar where we do all of our planning, so we can put everything on for the year and we can add information as we're going, and our event team will go in and strategically start to plan from that so that we have a visual of all that's happening. It's harder to manage when it's in a physical form. And so the calendar that you have on the website, those events are the ones that are already ready to be shared to the public. They're confirmed, they're ready, they're finished. So there's a behind the scenes and an outward scenes. So there's a lot of things happening, and even though it's like we're standing on the edge and we're going, yes, this is going to be so cool, but I have no idea what it's going to look like, feel like, or how it's going to affect me. So just notice that when you feel a little anxious about something that you don't know anything about, that's called growth. Spiritual growth. It's an opportunity, and we have the courage to step into it and go, oh, everything I need is just going to show up as I need it. We're going to trust the process. And we're going to be here to support you in that. And so even if you might not have seen that, some of the things we've been able to do is we're creating all of our forms, our registration and sign-up forms come through Breeze. There are links to our website, so you fill that out. That information comes back to the office or any key lead person, and it automatically creates an Excel spreadsheet with all that information. So we can just, with one button, go to a report of everybody that signed up for that particular event. Then we have a history of who's participated in what. So we might be able to reach out to you and say, hey, I noticed that you participated in these events. There's something else coming up you might be interested in. It'll be a very effective tool, because just imagine if we had 200 people here, how would we keep track of everyone and what their interests are and everything? So we're building a base so that we can support that. That, I think, is exciting. Another thing that we implemented, which again, there's a growing curve on that, is we're using Google Drive so that we have a collective place for all of our staff, our volunteers, and leadership team to find forms and information that we all need to have in one place, so you don't have to email somebody and ask them to share it. We have created a Sunday service Excel spreadsheet that's on the Google Drive, so that every team and everybody that participates on Sunday morning is on one sheet in a one place, all you can see in one place. Where are the holes? Who needs to sign up? What's missing? I put my Sunday lesson themes and background information. We put the songs, the musicians, whoever's scheduled. And yes, sometimes it's challenging to learn that, but once you realize it's easy, all of us can go on and use it at the same time and keep us informed, up to date in the moment. It's a much more effective and efficient and time-saving theology or technology. And again, it's building the foundation, preparing us for the future to be more effective. And it's saving us money when it saves us time. So one of the things that I also wanted to share, and maybe some of you are aware or not, but we are not alone in this broad unity movement. And since the pandemic, it's shifted things, it's changed things. And a lot of things that stopped being the way they were have not come back in engagement. And maybe that's intentional, and maybe it's because we're not ready yet. But that's what we're looking at. If we can be really more strategic about what we're bringing in, and because I don't have the history of the before COVID here, or even the during COVID, just remember, give me a little grace when maybe I'm not doing something that you're expecting or waiting for, it's because I don't have the history of the knowledge. And so it's helpful to say, I really loved it when we did this. Is that something that we might consider in the future? And so then I might say, would you be interested in helping us bring it together, because you have the knowledge base and the passion and the interest in it? So we'll have forms that you can go and fill out and then work with the event team. There's a procedure that's put into place. But the other challenge that this whole transition has created for us is financial. It may be surprising for you to know that there is less than 1% of all the unities in our unity movement that are actually meeting all their expenses and covering their budgetary needs throughout the year. And so we're in the other 99.5%, where we've been challenged by that. But I want to take that word challenge away, because what it is a prosperity opportunity for us to look at how do we practice spiritual principle. If it was my individual life and I was finding that my obligations were not met by my income, then I know that I have options. There's a choice in that. There's things that I can do. And it starts with what I hold in my mind and what I believe is possible, and do I have the courage to explore it and step into something new, so that I'm creating the space for other resources to come into my life. And so what I realize is that yes, we rely on tithes and gifts and love offering, financial giving. Especially we appreciate when you can make it consistently, so that whether you're here or not, that we can still realize that to support our budget, because our budget isn't based on whether you're here or not. It's trusting that everybody is here all the time. And the board and I have been very focused on looking at we have a very slim budget. We have tried to cut it back as much as we can, and most of the time, we come in under budget. So we're not even spending the money that we thought we might need to. And yet, we're still looking at $20,000 to $50,000 that we may be short of the resources that we're bringing in, along with 99% of all the other ministries in the Unity movement, which means then that we have a creative opportunity to expand our resource base, and how else can we draw income in? We created the legacy gift planning brochure last year so that that would be an educational awareness of other ways you can support our Unity ministry in planned giving, in tax saving opportunities. So read that. We are hoping to expand that more and create more education around how you can do that. We were blessed last year by a couple in this congregation that decided they would rather gift us their legacy gift now rather than wait until they were gone. And to me, that's a vote of confidence for who we are. And that helped make a difference. If we had 1 or 2 legacy gifts every year or every other year, it would help us to really have a strong financial base moving forward. So there's other things too, which is why I'm calling forth this year for us to go deeper into our spiritual practice of the Great Experiment. Are you willing to experiment with our spiritual principles and practices? Not only in your life, but collectively as a ministry. So the vision casting workshop that I have planned for March 16th, yes, it's St. Patrick's Day weekend, because there's a lot of positive energy going on around then, right? And the potato bar that we're serving you is in behalf of everyone's Irish heritage. But it's going to be a powerful time. Vision casting is like, we consider anything and everything. We're like throwing it out there, and we're casting our net way out into the future. And we're reeling back in those things that fit right now and creating the steps that we can take in that direction to make them happen. But it can't happen just from me or from the board members or our staff. It's collectively, we're all co-responsible for our future. And we have inherently this amazing wisdom within each of us, and maybe access to things that I don't know about, that the board doesn't know about. You know, Renee, who I know went off on her passion to help those kids that are trying to make a difference with the kids that are scared that they're going to be deported. She has a passion for community service, and I've been talking to her about finally wanting to start a community outreach actual team, and she is passionate and she has great connections with that. She said, did you know that if you signed up for the Pride Festival or Arts on the Avenue, or these events where you have a fee that you have to pay for a booth, if you applied to the Chamber of Commerce, they provide that fee for nonprofits. Did we know that? No. And so that's the collective wisdom that we want to tap into and bring it into our awareness. And the Vision Casting Workshop will be a process of helping to begin that. What are some prosperity events that we could create and establish? You know, maybe some of them are opportunities to reach the greater community outside of us that would like to know about a community of what we do. The LGBTQ group that Joey and David have started are starting to draw people in because they're finding a safe place to be where they're welcome. And those people have great passion and energy that can help tap into what we're expanding and what we're reaching out to. I think now more than ever, people need to know there's a safe place to be where they're accepted no matter who they are, no matter what they look like, no matter who they choose to love. We are here for them. But does everybody know that? And, you know, and continuing to offer spiritual education as people are willing to step in and participating. So this event is going to be key for us to bridge the gap of what we receive and what our budgetary expenses are, so that we don't have to make any deeper cuts that could have a great impact on how you experience this ministry. We have tried to preserve our staff so that they're not impacted with any budget cuts at this point. But if things don't transform this year, we might have to look at that next year. So that's why this year is our great experiment. It's the year of really stepping up and saying, look at what we have done for 50 years. This has been sort of a nomadic ministry. And every time you make a change like that, it's transformative, and you have survived and moved forward and created something wonderful wherever you're at. So I call for us to continue to do that. And I just want you to take a look at some of the things that we have done in the last year. They're listed in the report, and there's like, I showed the administrative enhancements that we've done, the number of classes that we did. We were really excited when we had Faith in Action. We had 6 teams supported this year, participating in our book study, This Life is Yours. We did a spiritual economics class with 3 groups in the spring, and I'd like to see us doing more of that. I'm going to look at calling forth having more what they call spirit groups, because a ministry as it grows survives when it has more small groups where people connect and get to know each other and make a deeper commitment. So we're looking at ways of creating more of that. We had lots of special services where you can go in and feel that experience of the sacred. The next one coming up will be our Maundy Thursday Candlelight and Communion service, where we honor the 12 powers within us and call them forth in a metaphysical and experiential process of what the Lord's Supper would be. And so we create opportunities to connect with our outer community, but also within us. We've had trainings so that we can enhance our board, our leadership team, our prayer chaplains, our youth ministry. We're looking at ways that we can support you to make a difference in your own lives. Looking at things we have, our pledge campaign, we had 38 givers make a pledge campaign that equated to $135,860. That's an increase in total giving commitment from 2023, so we're grateful for that. We're looking at all the special events we do, because those are social times to connect. And you look at the long list of them, and one of my favorite ones was our Thanksgiving Gratitude Pie Fest. I mean, didn't we have a good time? Everybody brings their favorite holiday pies. Who doesn't want to do more of that? When we added the theatrical reading of A Christmas Carol, which was another way of reaching out to the public to invite people in. We want to do more of that. As a matter of fact, next Friday, I'm having a meeting with Renee and Cerny so that we can talk about creating maybe a concert series where we can bring in well-known musicians that have a following and sell tickets to that so that we can fill this place and be able to share with them, but they will bring the people that they know, and as a way of connecting, a greater outreach. And we maybe become known then as a place that has great programs. You don't want to miss any event that's at the Spire, right? I attend the local, national, and regional conferences and conventions with Unity so that I can network and I can connect and I can find, get new resources, information to bring here and share. I've been part of a monthly seminar called Let's Grow Together, where Unity Worldwide Ministries is inspiring and brings guest speakers and presenters of how can you grow prosperity-wise in your ministry? What are some things that can work? And looking at how we can implement them. That's always the challenging piece, where we might need to call upon you to make something happen. We're creating team building things. We have guest speakers that can bring a different perspective. We have amazing guest musicians, you know that. Cerny has a vast network of a connection of amazing variety of musicians from different genres, which is really is special. It gifts this place. And through monthly meetings and weekly meetings and different gatherings, I connect with the different teams to be a support and a resource too. And so I see us evolving, that we are collectively manifesting an amazing spiritual community. And I think by your presence being here, you're saying that too. So thank you for making a difference. Thank you for your willingness to show up. And thank you in advance for all that we will be co-creating together, so that next year at this time, we have so much to celebrate we can hardly contain ourselves. Bless you.
Thank you, Reverend Megan, and I'd like to invite up David Sandal-Hill, and he's going to cover the official information around the nominating committee and introduce our board candidates for this next year.
I would also like to start with the video, but I don't have one. Just kidding, Amy, sorry. She said no. No. Selection of the nominating committee. First, I'd like to acknowledge Nancy Jackson right back there, who was our part of this team for 2025. And so in selecting the nominating committee for 2026, I'm going to read the bylaws, section 4.04B, nominating ministry team. Nominating ministry team will be formed at least 3 months prior to the annual membership meeting and will initiate a search for at least 2 qualified candidates for the Board of Trustees. The ministry team will consist of the senior minister or co-ministers and 3 active members selected in the following manner. At the annual membership meeting, the membership shall elect one of its active members as an alternate to serve on the nominating ministry team for the next year's election. In the event of unavailability to serve of the person so selected, the board will select a person from the active membership to fill the vacancy, other than a current board member. 2, the board member will elect one of its trustees. And then 3, together with the minister, the above 2 ministry team members will select a 3rd ministry team member for the active membership. The entire nominating team will then decide who will chair this committee. So do we have any volunteers who would like to participate in the 2026 nominating committee? Raise your hand. No?
One would be good.
One did?
I said one would be good.
One?
Just one.
Just one?
Start.
Okay, I'll do it. Nobody? 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 Okay. Just put me down. I'm already there. Next year I'll know more about this. Okay, so, let me ask, is there anybody virtually interested? Any hands on the computer? None? Okay. Board of Trustees. Now it's time to talk about the election for the board. From the bylaws, section 4.04A, qualifications. Any person elected to the Board of Trustees must be an active member of Unity of South Sound. They will be a person who will 1, desire to serve on the board, 2, endeavor to live in accord with the Jesus Christ principles of love and truth as taught by Unity, 3, furthers the work of this ministry through their active interest, love, and support, 4, is a sincere and continuing student of Unity, conversant with its teachings, and 5, has demonstrated leadership capabilities. Now it's time to introduce the nominees and invite them to share for 2 or 3 minutes. And we'd like to start with Steve Ryan. Oh, question? Oh. Thank you. So now we will introduce Steve Ryan.
Good afternoon. I guess it's my chance to sell myself for re-election here. This really is a great opportunity to serve on the board. We do have a board that's full of experience, and I certainly have a little bit myself. So it's a great opportunity for me to find a place here to help us as we move forward. Certainly I've been in churches that have been challenged before, but we really are having a challenging time with a number of things in the world. And I think Unity, like the video Reverend Megan showed, is uniquely positioned to find a place to help, not only ourselves, but the greater community out there. And I certainly want to be a part of helping orchestrate that as we move into our future. That's it for me. Next.
Thank you, Steve, for continuing to share your gifts with this community. Now I'd like to invite Jim Griffith up to speak.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be with this community of unity, and the reason that I would like to serve on the board is because I care. I care deeply for unity. I care for this spiritual community of unity of South Sound, and I look forward to working to help sustain, as we heard earlier, or enhance our community, and work to have this community remain warm, welcoming, and joyous, which I think are major features of why we attend unity. Jill and I have had 7 years of wonderful marriage. Together, we have 5 adult children, we have 5 grandchildren, and we love coming to unity. I have some background in management and organization, which was required to work as a physician for many years. And I've worked as a medical doctor for over 50 years, and I had my own practice of neurology in Tacoma for almost 44 years. So I've been involved with such activities. And on my first day in medical school, first lecture, in the first 15 minutes, the professor made a statement that was so very important for my life, professionally and personally. He said, "You cannot always cure, but you can always care." We all can always care. With caring and with love, there's healing, which is so wonderful. I do know that I care. I do know that unity teaching, principles and powers harmonize with my being, and I do experience love, peace, joy. And I know that joy is a major component of our spiritual community. And I will work, and we should all work, to continue joy with this community. And in my first hour of a unity service 25 years ago, I smiled the whole time. It felt good. I felt at home. It felt nourished, and also freedom of my mind, my heart, my soul. It was just a wonderful feeling. And the other part of that feeling was the connection of the people in the community with us together. I still feel that way. I love coming here to know that I'm in the company of such bright, awake, questioning people who have such warm and open hearts. And it's an honor and a pleasure to consider you fellow trekkers on this unorthodox road up the mountain to the One. And I also deeply appreciate Unity's inclusion of other spiritual paths, and understanding those paths also lead up to the top of the mountain, to the hill, to the One, to God, to Great Spirit. And adding another tradition phrase that we heard one earlier today, I'm going to add another one. There is a Lakota Sioux phrase that for me embodies caring, being, joy, and community. It's Metakwiasin. We say that when we are participating in NIPI, the sweat lodge. Metakwiasin, for all my relations. So I say, for all my relations, Atakwiasan. Oh.
Thank you, Jim. There might be a position in the federal government for you soon. Now I'd like to invite Donna Peterson up to speak, and thank you.
Good day. I want to thank you for electing me last year and ask for you to re-elect me this year for a different position. I'd like to be your board alternate this year. And I was just calculating, and February 12th this year, I've been in this congregation for 8 years. My husband Jim and I started coming at the invitation of Chris Lasarga. She said, "It's Valentine's Sunday, so come." So that's when we began coming here. I did join this congregation in 1982, also years ago. But this year, I celebrate, and I ask you to celebrate with me, 50 years in unity. It is my life, it is my love, it is my way to express who I am. I love unity, I love loving, I love people. I love the world, and I want them to know that they have that beautiful light within them, and all they have to do is allow it to shine. It's been my joy to be with the board this past year, and I do wish to continue. And we'll see where it goes from there. But I want you all to know I'm here because I love you. I love this institution. I love what it does worldwide. It's been my joy to be a founding member of Unity of Anchorage and serving later, many years later, with my husband, Unity of Anchorage, as we served 30 years in the Unity Ministry, Alaska, Salt Lake, Santa Barbara, and so many other places. I'm not going to list them all. But I love you, and God bless you. Thank you.
Yes? Agreed. And you can amend your, if you want to make those to the side, Steve, yes or no, and then check it. So if you want to do that to your ballot, I'm sorry that we didn't do it right, but that, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. But we're not, did you want us to do anything more about that or just bring it to our attention? That's a suggestion with that.
So let us go ahead and get through your
Yeah.
piece, and we'll come back.
Okay. I'll go through the amendment changes, and then we'll go back to that, Joey. Thank you. Okay, so the first on your ballot is the, was it the gender one on the ballot? Okay, the gender one. We wanted to, it was, in fact, it was suggested by you, Joey, to bring everything gender neutral. And so what we have done is went through line by line and found all of the he's and she's and converted them to either a they or their, or so that it becomes then gender neutral. And does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Stand up, please. Yeah.
Going to be on momentarily. Okay. Okay, so I'm kind of an English grammar nerd. So back in the 70s, when it came to my attention that it was hard to understand gender in a neutral kind of way, I came up with, out of necessity for my own self, te, ter, and tem, which is like a singular form, gender neutral. So like they, te, their, ter, them, tem. So I realized that nobody has had a lot of time to think about this, but I'd actually like to see, because like some people like and prefer they as their gender pronoun of choice, but I'd like us to have a singular one in there as well if people are open to it. And that's just, sure.
So just, what I would like to just say in that regard, that is your understanding for you individually. I think at least for the last 10 years or so, with people becoming more aware of gender issues and gender studies, it is widely acknowledged that they, them is in fact a singular pronoun as well as a collective. Because you could say, oh, hey, David, do you know what David thinks about, Legos? And you say, yeah, I think they like them or they don't like them, and you would completely understand what you were saying. I think that if you were to use, and they, them is also largely understood by everybody. I think if you were to include language like te, tem, te, I can't remember the words you were using. It's not understood at large. I think if you're coming into this and reading this bylaw, you'd look at this and be like, what is this? They, them is clearly understood by all, and with our changing understandings, they, them as a singular is much more widely known and accepted.
I agree with you that that's sort of the default collectively that we've moved to. It's just that there are those situations in which they and them doesn't make sense because it's
Okay.
in more in the written language. But
Then, Barbara, you have a choice on
yeah.
your ballot to either accept it or not.
Okay, thank you. I was just
Yeah.
clarifying, hoping
yeah.
for an amendment, but that was my 2 cents.
Thank you. Okay. So, this light is. Any other? Okay. The quorum definition. We had a discussion one evening about what defined a quorum, and nobody ever got a good answer together. So we decided to be more specific, and we find that when you're more specific, it helps. So instead of being a quorum of 51% of trustees present and willing will constitute a quorum for the transaction of business, we broke it down into a majority of 4 of the trustees will constitute a quorum based on 6 trustees. And then when voting, a simple majority of 51% for approval or disapproval of the action would be that definition. Any questions on that? Oh, Diane, yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm clear here. So I'm looking at the proposed change for quorum and voting, and then we've got quorum and voting majority. And the trustees, that's the board, is that not, or is that all of us?
The trustees are the board. They're the 2 positions of trustee and the 4 officers. We have six members of the actual board, plus the minister has a voting, but the minister nor the alternate are considered a part of the voting.
So this proposal only concerns the board and how you
Correct.
do business.
Correct.
Am I correct? Okay, thanks.
Yes. Anything else? Okay, well, that's the definitions provided, and then, Chris, you wanted to?
Got it. Okay, Joy, thank you for your question. We are going to move on to the ballot, and I think I gave you mine. I'll just that one. Perfect. Okay. And the nominating committee that was made up of the volunteers from last year's meeting in 2024 did go forward and vet out and present forward the slate of candidates. So that is why the slate is being presented together for those open positions. So according to our bylaws, that is an acceptable way of presenting the vetted candidates by the nominating committee. So they will be presented as a slate, and what we would ask that you do as members is to, on your ballot, check either yes or no. Yes, to approve the slate as presented by the nominating committee, or no, to not approve or accept the slate as presented. As well, the two bylaw changes that Sue just described around the pronouns in the bylaws and then the quorum for the Board of Trustees when we vote. So there's we ask that you vote either yes or no there as well on the bylaw changes. And so there's 3 opportunities to vote, either yes or no. And yes, David, question. Hang on.
Is there 6 board members or 7? 6. So I see 6 up there now. Are one of you leaving?
There's a vacancy.
Oh, okay, that would still be with.
The alternate is 7.
That's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
And the minister is considered a board member too, but we don't count me as a board member. Right.
So what you probably didn't hear is that the minister, Reverend Megan, is considered a member of the board. We do not count her as one of the trustees. Yep. And yes, we do have to use the mic so that everyone online can hear. No worries.
I was just trying to figure out if Jim is going to be on the board, is somebody leaving the board? Or is this board going to still be there and Jim is added to it?
So we currently have a vacancy, and LaDonna is our current alternate. Alternates are voted in for 1-year terms, and LaDonna is being presented by the nominating committee to take on that alternate role for another year. So she's put herself in that place to be voted in as alternate.
So Jan was appointed to cover her term.
And yes, Jan is a current trustee that has 2 more years remaining. I'm a current trustee that has 1 more year remaining. Sue is a current trustee that has 1 more year remaining. Mm-hmm. And Candace is a current trustee that has 2 more years remaining. And Steve is technically off the board as of this today, and he has been presented for another 3-year term. Okay. That's important to clarify for everyone. I know it gets confusing for us as well sometimes, because people come on and off every year, and the traditional term is 3 years for a trustee and 1 year for an alternate. And if someone steps off the board, then alternates can be appointed into that remaining term. What other questions do you have? Anyone? And Amy in the back. Yes, thank you for that. And if there are no other questions, we will declare voting open. So if you would complete your ballot, and then you can fold it and hold it up, and we have 2 board members, Jan and Sue, that will come down the aisle, and they will gather your ballots, and they'll be counting over here at the table. And voting will end after the treasurer's report, and then we'll be able to give you the results of that vote. You can. Certainly. You can, if you feel comfortable handing it to someone to the end of the aisle, that's up to you, or they will collect them from you individually. All right. Okay. You ready, Steve?
Are we ready for the treasurer's report?
I think
know
we
that's
are.
what we've all been waiting for. I said that enthusiastically, right?
Sorry.
All right, before I get started, I just wanted to kind of follow up on some of the groundwork that Reverend Megan had spoken to. And that's, just to remember that we've seen some difficult times. And the board had a chance to meet with a consultant from Unity Worldwide Headquarters, or Unity Worldwide Ministries, pardon me. And she had mentioned that back in 2005, there were 1,600 Unity churches across the United States. And the last time they checked on those numbers, I think would have been for 2024, or possibly 2023, there were less than 400 Unity churches across the U.S. So that means we are among the few. We're a survivor, where many, many others have not been able to get past that. So I think we deserve to congratulate ourselves on at least being a survivor. And so let's get into some of the numbers. Let's see what we did last year, because it's always interesting. Yes. We're going to take a look at some of the trends that we had during 2024. We're going to quickly look at the budget for 2025. And we'll look at some of the things that work towards this in terms of prosperity consciousness, the breakdown of the actual tithe recipients that we paid out, and kind of a breakdown of how we got tithing in our community. Next slide would be the financial trends. We have a couple of things on there. We're looking at our rent. You can see here that our rent didn't change for a variety of reasons. They never sent us a notice to pay any more, and we didn't ask them if we should, so we didn't. That still leaves us in a position where we need to work on the renewal again, contract renewal again in August, because there's always things around the building and things that we want to have done and things that we might be willing to help out with. But in the meantime, we're going to do our best to keep those our monthly lease at or near that same amount. So the numbers that we look at that have been pretty prevalent since COVID are the negative numbers. At the end of the year, we were down $27,000, a little over $27,000. That was up from 2023 when we were down a little over $15,000, but much better than the actual, ending of COVID when we were down $58,000. Now, I don't know, a lot of times we don't look at those as being very, happy figures, but they really are. As a survivor, we're very fortunate that we have money that we've been able to lean on. We're also very fortunate in the last few years that we've got significant contributions towards the end of the year that have helped pull us through. And those are things that make a difference, not only to us, but us as a congregation. We can't always anticipate or expect those big contributions, and that's why we often like to work with intentional giving as our main sources of our income. And we'll probably speak to that a little bit more. Expenses paid, we actually paid about $7,000 less in our expenses last year than we did the prior year. That doesn't mean our budget was any less, it just means we paid less. And part of that was, like with the lease and stuff, we budgeted more, but we didn't pay it. There's a few different things that we had to forego, but in any case, we brought in less money, we spent less money. We all kind of know how that works. Next slide. What is a budget? We see this every year. I've changed a little bit in it, but just quickly, a budget is a financial plan that sets our intention for prosperity and the programs that we offer in the coming year. It really does make a difference on what we offer. That's what we do. Our church budget is based on projected contributions from the members as well as from workshops, special events, and fundraising activities. And you heard Reverend Megan speak to some of those things. Part of that is what we do as individuals. When we do workshops, special events, and fundraising activities, those are things that we can open up to the public. So how best can we do that as we move forward in the future? It's nice if we don't have to take on the full responsibility of supporting our congregation. If we can get some kind of help from the greater community, that makes us better not only financially, but as a community. Our operating budget is designed to be what we can count on. That's how we make sure that we can do what we do every year. This includes conservative increases to our income and prosperity funding. The prosperity funding is basically our fundraising events, which includes workshops and et cetera. Obviously, our fall fundraiser is our key way of raising funds over and above our intentional giving and tithes and love offerings. That's our budget. We wish the numbers we wrote down always came true. Sometimes they do better. What's our next slide is going to be income. Okay, this kind of shows us where we were last year, what we did the year before, and our budget for the coming year. I know we all want to go over all these numbers in great detail, but we really don't have time for that. So we're just going to quickly look and see where we're at. Basically, our budget for the top two items, contributions and the monies that we get via the web, our budget is the same, has been the same for the last couple years, and it's still something that we believe we can achieve. As you can see, the top line, contributions that come in via checks, credit cards, et cetera, has exceeded budget. But our website contributions, and we base that mainly on our opportunity to be a hybrid church where we have an online community. Part of this is enhancing our ability to connect with our online community, as well as increasing the ability to and utility of our donate button that you find on our Facebook page and on our website. We've enhanced that program to allow people to be a lot more versatile in how they give and how they continue to give as they move into throughout the year. Again, the bottom three items are basically indicators of the kind of activity that we do beyond Sunday services. So workshops, prosperity, or fundraising events, special events, that can be any number of things. Primarily here, We're seeing what the kids did to raise money to go to the camps throughout the year. So we raise money in a couple different ways there, and part of that is parents and sponsors all contribute a third of what it costs to send a kid to camp. The kids fundraise every year, and that pays for a third of what the kids need to pay, the registrations, they go to camps, and then the church funds a third as well. So what we see here are that basically 85% of our contributions, tithes, and love offerings come from the congregation, and then the balance, 15% of what we bring in, is coming in from other sources. It would be nice if we could, we want both numbers to go up, but it'd be nice if we could improve upon what we receive outside of tithes and love offerings. Just to note, we don't get any money from Unity Worldwide Ministries or Unity Worldwide Headquarters. We do tithe to them. That's how they get supported. There's a few opportunities where they reimbursed us for expenses for a variety of reasons, but they don't provide us any ongoing funding. And then the 2025 budget is based on, and my page doesn't show the answers. So we based that, like I mentioned, we were already looking to increase intentional giving, greater participation in workshops and different things like that, and meeting our prosperity funding goal, which is our fundraising goal of $26,288. That's our income. We can do it. Our expenses. We have that slide? We do. We can see here, again, the same breakdown of columns, what we did in 2023, what we did in 2024. You can see there that what we spent went down. And then you can see our budget is $245,000 and some change as we move into the next year. We look at those numbers, we really do, and as Reverend Megan mentioned, it's hard to trim them any farther than what we were looking at, but we can, if we have to, we will. We're not sure how yet, but we will. But we think those numbers are attainable for us. So we look forward to the opportunity to get to where we can subsist at our budget level and hopefully, add money to our savings as we move into the future. The next slide. Oops. Our next slide is going to be our overall view, which we don't need to see it on the screen because it's just a summary of the income page and the expense page. Oh, good question.
Steve, can you repeat the question?
The marketing and social media, that number, as you can see over time, has gone from $5,600 to $200 to zero. And that basically has to, years ago we had an advertising budget for the newspaper. Newspaper ads gone, we don't do those anymore. We moved to social media. And we were doing advertising and social media, and the numbers that you're seeing here, where the number was higher, it's our social media director's budget was included in the numbers there. When we made the switch over at the beginning of 2024, the social media position became a position of its own, so its budget left this line item. And so the $193 you see there were some residual Google ads that we did. And we're not doing advertising on there anymore. Our social media director has advised us of better ways to do it all. And, from what we can see, it's working and we're not spending money on that. And that's okay by us. Joey?
Okay, all right, there it is. So in looking at the budget and looking at the tithes specifically, I noticed that over the course of the year, we spent $18,425 on 33 different tithe recipients. A third of that is going to various Unity organizations. And this is not to say that funding Unity is a bad thing. I don't, just as kind of a point of concern, I feel that in our mission to tithe outside of ourselves, I feel that tithing to another Unity organization, outside of maybe, you know, worldwide, Unity Worldwide, where who is essentially our parent, seems a bit incestuous. Whether we're getting funds from them or not, it just seems like I'm going to give this to you and then you give this to me, and it just sort of goes in this round robin. It doesn't do anything but circulate within Unity, and it doesn't do anything to expand our mission outside of ourselves. Whereas if we were to refocus on funding projects outside of ourselves, even by taking out the Unity projects. According to my math that I kind of did while we sat here, if all of these organizations received equal funding, they all got about $558 last year. If we had removed the Unity donations to those, each of those organizations that we tithe to would have received closer to $1,000. It was about like $850 per organization, which goes to impact the greater community on a larger level. Is there anything that we can do as an organization that seeks to truly tithe our money outside of Unity, which is supposed to be what our mission is to tithe to the greater community? One of the things that I love about this is that we reach out to the community beyond ourselves, so that we are not doing something that is just solely in-house, right? Donating to another Unity church or another Unity congregation just feels like a way to keep the money in our pockets, but not really.
That's a good question. One, we don't tithe equal to all of those. The Unity churches we tithe to, we typically give $100 a month.
Whether or not, you know, I understand that it's not going to be equal. I understand that it's not going to be equal, and I understand that even if it's $100, that's still $100 that we could impact the broader community, right? $100. I'm sure that we also get donations in the same sort of quantities from other Unity churches. That just, again, feels like passing the buck as a gesture to other communities, if we're also getting donations from those communities too.
We do.
Right. So it just feels like a bookkeeper mark, like, hey, we're donating this $100 and you're going to donate this $100 right back. It doesn't feel like it has the impact that it
doesn't
could
to
have.
you.
Right.
Speak for yourself. Yeah.
And if I could
granted,
speak
it's
to what
for
tithing
me.
is.
I understand what tithing is. I understand that tithing is giving, so that that spiritual energy you're giving out comes back in a way, right? But I think that if we're going to reach out and bring people in, donating to another Unity just doesn't feel. I understand that this is personal. Maybe nobody else has thought about this, but it just, to me, feels like we're just sort of circulating the same money in the same pool. If we're donating to another Unity, and that Unity is donating to Unity, and that Unity is donating to us, it's just circulating the same money, and it is not truly going anywhere.
So we understand that that's your perspective, and thank you for sharing that. But I just want to share that all of the Unity organizations exist because we give to them. We are autonomous, but we depend on them for resources, and they are solely supported by the giving of other ministries. And so true tithing is giving where you've received something, and if we give to organizations outside of ourselves, it's more charitable giving. It's not truly tithing. We want to make a difference, but every single one at the national and the regional level of Unity they are supporting us in many ways, and we would not exist without them, and they would not exist without us. So that's a very important and critical part of our giving back, so that we can continue to be a part of a Unity organization.
So again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't give money to Unity Worldwide, headquarters
And the
or ministries.
regions. They support us.
those three things I understand. I'm talking about the smaller stuff like the Unity in Olympics, Unity in Billings, Unity in Portland. If all of those people are getting donated to and we're donating, it just seems like this circle of money. It's not really going anywhere.
I understand. We could certainly
not
talk
gonna-
about that. It was a decision that was made that we would share with those that are in the same region with us, that we share with each other one ministry a month. And the tithing team had made that decision. So I appreciate that as a specific issue to consider in the future.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up, and this is not an attack on anybody. This is not me saying let's chuck it. I have heard about some other organizations, faith organizations, that are in the same sort of financial boat that we are, and they have moved from having a minister that they hire every month to hiring guest speakers as a way of kind of temporarily reducing their costs, kind of in the interim, so that they can build stuff up. So instead of spending, I don't know what we spend on Reverend Megan, that's not my business. I mean, $60,000 a year, we would be spending, if we're spending, $300 a week, that's about $15,000 a year on guest speakers, so that we can put that money in reserve and close that gap.
We are aware, and we do look at our options in those areas. Some are, under contract, and some are available. Some require greater efforts than others to make happen. But yes, that is something that people do. You're right.
Go ahead.
David.
I have a much simpler question. I wanted to ask, are we donating as a church, as this community, 10%? Is that the number that we're donating when we give our tithe out to all these other communities, or all these other, is it 10%?
We look at 10% of the contributions that come in.
So based on your overall budget for 2025, you have a total income of $245,545 budgeted, but you only have $21,000 budgeted for tithe.
Again, it's just the tithes and love offerings and website contributions. The rest of those items are things that oftentimes are flow through in the budget. So
do those still
gives $1,000 to go to camp, we pay $1,000.
But you still, even though that's not part of that specific line item of the budget, you still donate 10% from those other things as well?
Not from, if there's, our item had classes, workshop, prosperity funding, special events. We do not tithe directly from those. In some cases, we do take percent or a percentage of the net profits from them.
Okay.
Like I say, most of those things are
I was just curious because the numbers weren't lining up in my head, so I wanted to understand that better. Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for all this. This is wonderful. And Joey, I really appreciate you looking at the tithes, because I had the same kind of feeling as it related to that. Similarly, I understand that Unity we want to support, and actually when we talk about tithing, we talk about philanthropy. It's about love of humanity. So how do we wish to express our love? And so I think perhaps just a process that others might be able to plug in if they have a suggestion as to who we might tithe to would be a good way of going. Might be another thing to consider. I'm absolutely delighted that we tithe. The other thing I would like to mention, and I have worked, as many of you know, I've been in the nonprofit field for over 45 years. I've worked with well over 100 different boards and budgets. One of the most important things that we have, I believe, again, reasonable people can differ, but it is that we have a senior minister. I remember what it felt like when we were looking for a minister, and I know what we paid this particular minister. Every nonprofit has a chief executive officer. Every nonprofit has a board, and every nonprofit survives because of the volunteers and the donations that come into the organization. Our board is responsible for the financial health and well-being, but the board is guided by the chief executive officer, which is the minister. Now, I also love the idea of special guests coming in, and I think there is opportunities to attract those special guests and that they can be, and we heard a little bit about that today, about some new ways in which we can bring more people in here and special guests speak. But I would speak for myself in saying that the best investment that we have is in the chief executive officer, is the senior minister, is the person who is giving guidance to the board. And I just appreciate all of you, and I appreciate all of the questions, and that we have a free forum for which we can bring forth our own sovereignty and freedom into giving purpose and direction to this wonderful spiritual community.
Thank you, Al.
Steve, maybe it was already announced, but what was the total commitments after the Faith in Action activity this fall? Was it the 160,000, or is that the number that we came up with, or is there a difference between what was actually pledged and what we're putting down as projection?
Well, the intentional giving, I think, remember Megan had that number, 138? It was like 138,000 on intentional giving. So that was just, I can't do the math, 80% or something of the 160. So that only, is part of it. Not everybody does intentional giving. We would like them to, but a lot of people do it, give it on their own terms. They send in checks. They don't have us automatically do the deductions. So you can be an intentional giver and send in a check, or not sign the sheet. So not everybody signs intentional giving forms.
So traditionally, then, another $22,000 or so would be coming in outside of what?
Outside of intentional giving, yeah.
I'm going to ask again about tithing a little bit. So I think I'm going to miss something, Steve. We have operating income in 2004 of 200,000. I'm just rounding down. And do we give? Yeah, that's income. That's our income. We give 10% every month of that figure, or 10% of the contribution, tithes, and offering. Where does that 10%? What's the base for that?
When you look at the what is the basis of, when we do our tithe, what is the basis for that tithe? Basically, for our monthly, we would add up the prior month's contribution tithes and website contributions, the numbers that come in directly to Unity for our operations, basically not, and take 10% of that and tithe that out. With workshop prosperity funding and special events, some of that is flow-through money that we do not tithe on. It's directly for specific purposes. It's income, but it's in and out. So if we were to do it for the kids' camps and stuff like that, instead of the church paying a third, we'd be paying 10% more than a third. On things like our annual auction, In the past, they've done 10% off the total proceeds of the auction. We've did a number in between net profits basically off of the auction that was added in as well. So that's basically what we tithe on.
Hey, thanks. Just, I think another follow-up then. Of that, so our tithe that goes out into the world and to Unity churches is based upon what comes in from contributions, and that's about it, really, it looks like, from what you just said. Then how is it then divided? So we have 10 people we give to every month. So you said that we only give to Unity churches about 100. So how do you decide who, Doctors Without Borders and all the other really fine organizations? How is that
figured? The tithe
figured?
is broken down into 3 parts. There's 50% of our tithe goes to Unity, the Unity mission. So of that, the bulk of it goes to Unity Worldwide Ministries and Unity Worldwide Headquarters, and then a smaller part goes to regional, and then that $100 goes to the regional church. Oftentimes we send it to churches that have we sent to Unity of Blue Ridge in North Carolina after the hurricanes, and we're looking to send money to California to churches that are impacted by the fires down in California. Oftentimes that's where those dollars go, is to churches that have suffered a loss of some kind. So that's 50% of the budget. 25% goes to worldwide organizations, worldwide national organizations that are out there that are bettering the lives of people out there in some way, shape, or form. So what we have, I don't know, when we look at the list, we can figure out who those are. And then the other 25% goes locally to Helping Hand House, multi-services. Isn't there a committee that decides that? We've had a committee that has worked on that in the past, yes. So does that help?
I don't have any questions for you, but I do want to go back to the value of our minister. I happen to be the treasurer of the board during our minister search before Megan was brought on staff, and it is a lot more than just a Sunday speaking that a minister brings to your community. We, as a board, after Jeffrey left, decided to hire a temporary minister who basically comes in and fills that gap when there is no minister in place. And even with that support, it was a lot more work for our board as well as our administrator at the time. So I just wanted to point out that for the Unity churches that are in the position of just hiring Sunday speakers, they don't have that benefit of all of the additional value that the minister brings to our community. And I just wanted to share that. Thank you all.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, certainly sometimes saving money comes at a cost. How are we doing here? We just got a few more things to finish up. To finish up quickly, we got a few. Overall budget, we've kind of gone all over that, right? Money in, money out. Money out's more than money in. We want to be that number on the. You're right over there, where everything comes out to zero. It certainly is achievable. Let's do the next slide real quick. The quick slide. The next slide. We've kind of gone over this. That's a list of, who we've tithed to. Next slide. This is our breakdown of where we receive our money from. It just shows you basically what we have a smaller number of larger givers and a large number of smaller givers. We need them all. If we look at the numbers from last year, we could see that we lost some of our bigger givers, and we now have a few more of our smaller givers. over time, those things balance out. We're just at the time where we're heavier on the smaller end than the bigger end. But every dollar counts, no matter where you are. Next slide. And this is our last slide. This is the one that tells us, how we've been living in the negative. And that's been using some of the funds that we've saved for future uses. We don't always want to be the future use of those funds, so it's our endeavor to increase them moving forward so that some future congregation will have this opportunity like we have had. So as you can see, in the past year, the funds decreased from about $72,000 to just under $60,000, and that's where they remain today. We know that those numbers are finite, so we're very cognizant of the fact that we need to be able to support ourselves in an ongoing, sustainable way as we move into the future here. With that, all I can say is thank you all for your input. You all need to show up on March for our visioning, because this is what we're doing right now, and this is what we're going to do at our visioning thing, is have that opportunity to envision what it is we want to be and how we want to become that as we move into the future. The last thing I wanted to say was just a quote that impressed me from Mary Morrison, and that was that all we can do is to do what we can with what we have from where we're at. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And we are coming close to the end of our meeting for 2025. With that, yeah, with that, I should have kept the handheld, right? We do not have any other business from the board, and I want to read our election results. So as far as our 3 items on the ballot, the vote for new board members as presented by the nominating committee, the slate was passed. The vote for the bylaw change to make gender neutral did pass as well. And finally, the vote for the Board of Trustee quorum for voting items at our board meetings passed as well. So all 3 votes passed. So thank you for that. And before we have our final prayer, I just want to find out if there are any additional questions, and I want to make it, on behalf of the board, certainly, and myself, it is so important to be here and participating, as we all have been in the pews, and some have been up here as board members. And answering questions is what we do, and it's important that we are transparent and that we take everything into consideration. And so we are curious and we are listening. Just want to say that. Yeah, David. So now, open for any additional questions before we close.
I would just like to thank this board for all the work that they do so consistently and so effortlessly. And yes. Yes.
We'll take all the blessings we can get.
We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity you are. Thank you. I just know how hard it is in an element where you're trying to make a dollar stretch beyond its limit to stretch, and knowing that they're not really elastic dollars. So thank you for holding it together and keeping the ship afloat. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, David. And it is our pleasure. Any other questions on the floor before we close? Okay. All right, thank you. And thank you, Josh, for running mic for us.
Ask everyone to show up Saturday for the yard angels.
To show what?
Show up for the landscape.
Yep, LaDonna was putting a PSA in for yard angels, so if that's on your radar, then come see her. All right, we are going to officially close this meeting, and I would like to call up our chaplains for closing prayer. Yes, Reverend Megan.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to invite all of our prayer chaplains that are present. Please come forward. I just want to share with you, our prayer chaplain team is really deep. And when I say that, I mean from a spiritual practice position. I'm very grateful for them. They're an extension of what I do as spiritual support and pastoral care to our ministry. They take their role seriously in that they intentionally do practice. And they offer that to support you in demonstrating affirmative prayer. And I just want you to see that last page in your handout is, as we just finished our affirmative prayer class and looking at really the 5 movements that we've been teaching as a foundation, for you to take that home as a reminder of the format to flow. And working with these people has been a joy, and I think that the consciousness of our ministry comes a lot from this high watch that these people are holding for us. So as we close in prayer, I'm going to start the prayer, and I'm going to ask each one of our prayer chaplains just to speak a word of what this ministry is to them, or what you would like to offer our ministry, and for you to all receive it, because everything that's shared represents an aspect of all of you that make a difference in Unity of South Sound. So we breathe in the awareness of our divine self, and we open to the possibilities that are before us, as we know the truth that the divinity within us is active in and through, and is every thought, word, breath, action. And we do it intentionally to be that ripple effect in the world as we practice deeply. And so this ministry represents to me incredible potential. Now, I ask each prayer chaplain just to speak what's on your heart.
Spiritual enlightenment and oneness.
Family, community.
Communion and joy.
And if any of you have a word you would like to speak, just say it.
Subtle activism.
Gratitude and love. What? All one. Abundance.
Joy.
Yes. Light. So we breathe all those things in, we say yes to them, we allow them to be a part of who we are, and we add to all the rest of the amazing abundance that our divine presence, remember the power of spiritual community, we call it forth in magnificent ways in 2025 and beyond. And in a deep sense of gratitude, we all say, Amen.
Oh, and I forgot humor.
Yes. So laugh on your way out. Do you have to say we're officially closed?